All right, we'll start. We're 6 o'clock by my phone. We're all right on schedule. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, since I'm up. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we will start with the minutes of May 7th. Anyone had any adjustments or corrections?
I think anything was communicated.
The only thing I didn't communicate is you spelled my name wrong again, but no problem. The L and the E needs to be reversed. It's a very common thing that happens to that end of my name. And I didn't see any, I don't know what everything. I think you guys, I think you said to Shannon and Shannon corrected it.
Yeah,
I think this is the corrected copy that I printed out.
Yeah, I did send a correction.
Yeah. Anything else? Motion to approve? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
That is all approved. We'll go to Howard. We'll let you do your report before we do the next thing.
Tidbits in there. Town board meeting, I think we covered that somewhere already. They're not doing the Zoom after this, so this is the last Zoom.
Yes.
Town board did confirm that the CAC is involved in the Kilan Road paving process, which is wetlands involved.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be part of that, receiving the updates. This is at the town board meeting now.
Mm-hmm.
Actual construction to begin probably in 2006.
26, yep.
So that's all that they had that affects us.
Yep.
Zoning Board of Appeals, no new environmental issues raised. There's something I'd like to discuss afterward with the planning board, the zoning board, and the variances, percent of variances they've been giving lately, and the fact that everything's approved. Our planning board was last night in a discussion, and Margaret was there, and Margaret discussed our letters that we sent them.
I apologize that I couldn't be there because of my late eye doctor appointment in Denver.
It's all right. It was
I
perfect.
apologize.
Margaret covered everything.
Yeah, we just needed to mention the letters and the updated state zoning, state wetlands. So it was perfect. I didn't want to hold up their meeting.
No, there was no need to, because everything we wanted to say was in writing.
Exactly.
But since the wetland law came up, it was discussed that there's town wetlands law and there's a state wetlands law.
Yes.
And state wetlands law doesn't approve things as quickly as the town does. And so then it becomes, what do you do about approving things? They were discussing this. Thanks to Margaret bringing it up. It's on the table. And the consensus of opinion at the end was that the wetlands law from the state supersedes the town law if there's a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Both laws are independent of each other.
Correct.
So they can't really approve anything until the state gives a decision as well.
Yeah.
Which, you jump around a little bit, goes down to the Smith-Conway one that you did the site visit on.
Mm-hmm.
That is also under the state wetlands law.
Mm-hmm.
So the two consultants are Aaron and what's his name there? Steve Marino, want to put, as always, this is another problem. We'll discuss that after. Recommended putting the addition in the wetlands buffer.
Mm-hmm.
They ignored everything that we said in the letter, which they always do quite often. They have their own opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And however, when it came up for discussion on the agenda, some of the members of the planning board had concerns because of the fact that state wetlands law has not been finalized with an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, they withdrew the Marino Aaron approval, which was in the memo they sent it, pre-done already.
Right.
Their resolution.
And so
Their resolution?
the resolution.
Yeah.
So it's now on hold until the state
Okay.
makes an opinion,
Right.
which could be anywhere up to 90 days.
Yeah.
And so that's was a result of Margaret coming there and addressing them.
Our letter that I
About our
presented
letter
to
that you
them in
all- you
advance so
all
that they can
approved.
read it.
But, our letter also really encouraged the planning board to have documentation as to why this can't be, why there's no reasonable alternative to putting the building in the wetlands buffer. And so if I were on the planning board, I would want more documentation of that. I mean, was that issue discussed?
It was
at
discussed
all?
in the fact that when the actual wetlands law was written, at the table, I was there, by the way, and that's why I said CAC all the time in there.
Mhm.
And the purpose of that section that you're referring to was the first test.
Mhm.
If it cannot be put anywhere else, then you go to all these
Right.
other steps.
That's right.
They reverse it. In fact, I said to them, you put in the horse before the cart.
Right.
And so what was their response to that? How do they think about that? Because if I'm a planning board member, I'm going to want to follow the procedures, even if they come out in the same place. I just think is it they think, oh, we're going to come out this place anyway,
So then we just skip it.
so we'll just skip it. Is that it?
I don't know what it is.
understand.
This all of these members that were not there when the wetlands law was being debated in public,
Mhm.
and they were not there for quite a bit of the wetlands laws coming up in the past. They're all relatively new members. I think the oldest member involved in stuff might be
But
Susan Meany.
they're all very intelligent people.
No, they're lawyers. They're all smart
who can
people.
read. I mean, I'm new. I wasn't there at the table. I'm just reading the zoning code that's in front of me. That's all I'm doing. To focus on this fact that they need to have documentation that there is no reasonable alternative, and the applicants.
I have
don't
no
seem
idea how to answer that question, why they're ignoring it.
So that didn't come up at all?
It
in the
came up.
meeting?
It came up because I spoke up. I said I was part of the committee that did the wetlands law originally, was involved with that, and the public was involved with that. There were quite a few meetings, and the procedure was first to see if it could be done elsewhere. And I said that to them. We need to take somewhere,
Right.
and then if it could not be done anywhere else but in that buffer, then you start to look at the negatives that might occur, which would
Right.
still deny it. So that's on there. They kind of nodded their head a little bit, but they did not get, in my opinion, did not get behind that idea, really, that was what the wetlands law was written for.
Mhm.
So I have no idea why this is happening all the time now, just as I have no idea why from the ZBA is now giving huge variances, where the code, in my mind, is very clear. It says, you, the ZBA, are instructed, and that was added after, it was added 7 years after, because people were concerned they couldn't do anything at all with it. So they put a little escape valve in there saying that if you will allow you, if it was built before 1971 or something like
May
that.
13th, 1971. Have it from this one.
You are allowed to get up to a 25% increase in the surface in variance. It didn't say that you're automatically entitled to that.
Right.
Which is the way this particular ZBA operates now. That's a given. They're already entitled to that without any proof of anything. With the new ZBA people, they're all new. They didn't live through any of this. And so that's the last ZBA variance they gave was 179% larger than with no variance at all. It was 149% larger above the 25% variance. And one of the members was actually saying, well, maybe we should make that too public.
You have to make it public, so there's nothing they can't do. They can't say that.
So it's in the minutes, I believe, somewhere.
Yeah.
So I believe that it's, maybe we should try to reach out to the state directly. There's a section on, but this man's name is Coon, C-O-O-N. There's a section in that who does all this work he's on the internet, on the DEC internet, and reach out to someplace in there and see what they say about this. There's also the Association of Towns, which we're part of, and they have a legal representation as well. They interpret what's in the clause. So I just would like to hear what other people who have authority in the state say on this.
Mhm.
I mean, I cannot believe that the DBA can ignore a directive given to them from the town board. Say this is part of your job. You may do up to this.
Yeah,
It seems odd to me.
yeah. I mean, the problem is that state law clearly appears to allow ZBAs to override local zoning codes. That's,
I'd like to hear what the government says itself, the
Yeah,
actual
Maybe I have a
government.
question.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going back and forth between ZBA
I know.
and planning board. So the letters were addressed to the planning board
Yes,
and presented to the planning board.
yes.
and this is a completely
And
new
this is
issue. Completely new issue that has
It's a
nothing to
it's a
do-
crossover issue only because we're discussing code, wetlands code, and ZBA and the extension code, so
Right,
that they're
yeah.
not, both boards are not applying what they're supposed to be applying.
And I would say that the ZBA, on the other hand, has got state law that gives them the
That-
authority
right.
to override local zoning codes if they meet the standards set forth in state law. So I do not believe that the ZBA is just ignoring the code.
Right.
I think they are relying on state law. So that's just my opinion. I mean, that's how state law appears to read. That's how our town website interprets state law. So it's quite different in that the ZBA is interpreting New York state law in a way that
They are able to
expand. Yeah,
But this letter.
But the letters, planning board,
And the letter also recommended that the planning board document their process for allowing
wetlands.
wetlands,
It has nothing to do with
building in wetlands.
building.
building and wetlands.
So, you know, I mean, I think that, I mean, I can understand the frustration.
Mhm.
But, you know,
Well, I would agree with everything you're saying applies to the code, except the fact that this is a direct instruction to them from the town. So everything else in what you're saying is correct. They can look at the code the town wrote, and they can change the code, which they're calling a variance.
mhm,
But I have a lot of trouble getting past the fact that a direct instruction to the town in the website for them, saying this is your job, and that they can override the instruction.
Mhm.
That's where
you're right.
I'd like to have the New York State government actually weigh in on that.
Okay.
Oh, give me something to do, Howard, thanks.
Say again?
Oh, give me something to do, thanks.
Give you something to do.
Yeah, exactly, gives me something to do.
I'll give you the addresses of the people.
I think, yeah, you can, but I think I might have it, but yeah, you
One is
can.
the Association of Towns.
Yep.
There's even a lawyer, have her name somewhere.
Yep.
And there's another one on the state that does that.
Yep.
Probably maybe still find that name
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, just get that to
And
me.
that would be, I think, definitive. If they agree with, the definition that the ZBA can override everything in the world that's written up in the code,
Mhm.
then that's the end of it.
It is.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll
But-
do that.
But then the question comes up, if they can do that, what's the purpose of having to go through a ZBA application?
Because the variance process has got guardrails. They have to go through certain processes.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
being facetious at that point, But we'll find out. I would like to put closure to this. I hope everybody else feel that it merits enough to at least put closure to it through New York government agencies.
Yep,
Yep.
yep, I'll give it a check.
And when brought up last night at the meeting, the planning board didn't agree or disagree with the idea that they're supposed to be considering alternatives. They just kind of left that on the table. It wasn't.
That was not on the table at that point. That was discussed, though. about the variance. The one that came up on the table was the Schmidt-Conway one, with the wetlands buffer. Your letter to them.
Our letter.
Our letter.
Our letter.
From our lawyer, she referred to you as our lawyer.
I did. I said our lawyer and our scientist were not able to join us last night. And they're like, who's the scientist? I'm like, Janet's the scientist.
A letter from our lawyer.
A very good group of people. They're very, very professional.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're up to the next thing that came up, that Susan Meany came up, that affects us indirectly. The application fees, and escrow and so on that are involved when you apply for a permit. She thought they were excessive, that they're being passed on to people with small properties and so on. And where did it, and she went back, she remembers Neil Wilson, who was the lawyer that the town supplied for the ZBA and the planning board.
Yeah.
Consultant, I think they called him. If somebody can correct me one way or the other, I believe town paid him a fee for the year. But I can't check it anywhere at the moment. My memory is
I don't
not
remember that.
quite as good as it was. But he was there. He handled all of the things that Aaron and Steve Marino handled. He had his own firm that he used commercially for applications that people were doing building, so on, construction would go to him with that firm. So when things came up that needed an engineer's opinion, for example, he referred to the person in his firm. And the net result was that the fees that the public paid were a lot less. This is what Susan Meany referred to as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the application fees, escrows and so on, and Aaron said this as well, are higher because you have to pay his firm, and they're higher because you have to pay Steve Marino's firm.
Mm-hmm.
So the public is now paying what the town used to pay, was what she was implying.
Yes, that I know. That they have I misunderstood it because I thought the escrow was for if it had to go beyond the normal. Oh my God, I forgot about the cookies. Oh my gosh, how did we get through that? How did we get through?
I don't know.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, I apologize.
Oversight.
Well, continue now. Put it in the minutes.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a $1,500 escrow, but I thought the escrow on top of the application fee, which I think is kind of high as well. I'm not really sure. It's like roughly $500 for, depending on what you're applying for, 3.5. So I thought the 3.5 and whatnot was what paid for Aaron and everything, because that's just the initial, this is what you do. And that the escrow was for special things beyond that, because, it goes back and forth.
Well, maybe I misunderstood Aaron.
But I don't know either. Because
it was on the record. I didn't play the recording
I don't-
over that far because it was at the end.
But I don't know either. But to me, it seems a little excessive if your fee is, say, $400. What's the $400 for? Because everyone's a volunteer. I know we have a planning board secretary and the ZBA secretary, so yeah, that's her fee, but that's not.
No, the fees are from the consultants, not the planning board.
Right, so that's why I'm saying the application fee, it's very high.
But it might be just a revenue raiser for the town.
Is that what it, yeah.
To keep costs down for the rest of us.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
If you're a town resident that doesn't apply for the planning board, maybe you shouldn't have to pay as much in taxes.
Right, no, I agree with all that. I agree.
So that's what it's for, is a revenue raiser.
Well, Susan also wanted to eliminate certain things that doesn't apply to you in certain types of applications. So they're going to look into that as well. And so they're going to look into it. And Aaron definitely stated that the fees have to cover his company, and Steve Marino's fees, when he makes all these wetlands recommendations, it's through his company, plant this, do that. They make money out of those recommendations.
Right.
Previous to that, what we're thinking is the town absorbed those fees. So the people who are applying had less fees for the application. Of course, it's refundable too. If you have put down, let's say, $10,000, whatever the fee number is, and those not all used, you get that back as the applicant.
Well, it seems to me to be a pretty good system to make the people who have got these properties and want special treatment to actually pay more in governmental fees. I don't have a,
I'm not sure. I'm just saying, I think it works. They say, well, you're gonna need $10,000 for this, but you have a small property, so you may only actually incur $2,000 or $1,000 worth of that fee. And whatever you don't incur from either AKRF or Steve Marino, or whatever his company is called, you get back.
yeah.
But you put the top amount in
scale on the
first.
side based on the size of your property would be appropriate.
Or I guess what Susan's saying with the application, because some things are so straightforward, you don't need
You don't
all
need,
of these, all the.
Yes, that's, I think, what she was getting
And I
at.
know with the variance, the escrow is $1,500. So even in a variance, you don't necessarily need all the specialist information. Yes, Aaron still does his job and, but I'm sure that $1,500 worth is never going to be used, is probably what she's saying in certain situations.
Yeah, that's pretty much what she was saying, that you would get the money back if you didn't use it, but you still have to put the money out to
Yeah.
get it back. And she
You have
was
to
saying
put it-
some applications shouldn't have to do that.
Right. And I know some people have dropped an application or not put one in because of that upfront $1,500, because it's a burden to some people.
Yes, and,
Yeah.
you have a small whatever, and you're on, let's say you're on a fixed income and want to do something, for
Yeah.
example. This may be a lot different than somebody who's worth umpteen $1 million and has a project that they're doing that's costing millions of dollars and maybe insignificant to them. That's what she was saying, basically.
Which makes sense.
All right. I think we've covered everything I observed at the meeting. If you
Right.
observed anything you want to add, they're all on Zoom. In fact, the meeting
Yeah.
last night is on Zoom.
Yep. And this one's on Zoom.
Mm.
This is our last Zoom.
Yeah, the last Zoom.
All right.
And there will be people, according to Doug Giles from the town. He said so. I asked him at the meeting, or after, whichever, how are you going to do this? He said, oh, we will have people here from the town who know how to do this, and they will be in the room, I guess. How else can you record?
I'm looking forward to that because I don't have to record anymore.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Howard.
That's my part of it. You guys have your stuff.
So we'll get our 2 letters approved that we gave to the planning board. Well, first one is the wetlands update draft.
For printing this out, I neglected to do that.
No, it's perfect. I think there's a couple of copies around here for everybody.
Yeah.
So a motion to approve the wetlands update letter.
Motion to approve.
And second, all in favor? So moved. And then
So do you need me to put this in final? or
could you do that
Yeah,
for me?
I can do that.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
And the same with our application for 4443 Valley Farm Road, our letter for that one. I think it's all good. There was nothing that we needed to do differently. If I can have a motion to approve it.
A motion to approve.
Second, all in favor? This is awesome. Thank you. And can you do that one as well?
Yeah, I
Pam?
will.
Perfect.
So do you want me to like put the logo on and put it in the PDF form?
That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there'll be no manual signature.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, here's the other one here. Yeah, let me give you the second. I think it's this one. Yeah, I think that was all that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
And, sorry. And then I don't know, oh, sorry, and then we have, our grant information is coming up to us on the 12th.
Yeah.
Correct?
So that's correct. And I checked the website the other day to find out if, because some of the emails that Nan was sending around made it sound like there were grants that are being issued that were similar to ours. And I thought, well,
Yeah.
So I went back and checked the site to make sure that they still hadn't released anything. And the website appears to indicate that it's June 12th.
Okay, good. So we will.
So I'll let everybody know as soon as I know.
So exciting, hopefully.
Hopefully.
All right, and then following up from last month, when I wasn't here, but thank you for being our
no
acting
problem.
chair. The flags in Mabbittsville when you drove by this evening?
Oh, yes, they are still up.
They are still up. Okay, so we will send a follow-up.
So
email.
I don't think that we've ever put our concerns in writing on the flags in Mabbittsville.
We did on an email, which we asked, we
Right.
felt like it was a formal, but we can write a formal letter, which I asked if they needed us to write a formal letter, that we thought the email was formal.
So
Shall I follow up with the email
Yeah,
or
yeah.
shall we?
we'll follow up with an email, and in the meantime, I'll put together a draft of a formal letter. For the record, I did go in and speak to the owner. Not sure if I mentioned that.
No.
And this was about the time of our last meeting, about a month ago. And the owner did not seem interested in removing the flags.
He has no interest of doing anything in our code, just so you know.
Yeah.
And with saying that, which I didn't have down here on the, but it's actually in the back of my head since his other building, which is the corner, which used to be the deli, which we did mention to the planning board about the signage, because they had on the plans 3 different signs, which they said, oh, well, it's only going to be 1 or 2 and it's just samples. But they have still, people don't understand what the code says for one thing, and that's,
Well, they have sign requirements and
correct.
signs.
So they do have that, and they did work on the training centers signage last night, I
Yeah, and I
believe,
think they.
which is great.
It approved, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sure they did, and it's they worked very hard. But this deli, they're not following up on, and they have 3 windows that all have technically a sign in them. So it's the name of the business in all 3 windows, which is 3 signs.
3
technically.
signs, yeah.
And in a window, they're only allowed to be, I believe, 30% the size of the window. They can't be larger than 30% of the size of the window, and they're all full size of the window. So,
the code is very clear that the gas station one always sticks in my mind. That it's a complete violation of everything. And they let it go.
I know.
I don't understand why they did that.
I mean, we addressed that recently.
Yeah.
The building inspector is following up on it, but it's just another thing that is on his pile.
I'll include the signs in the window comment in the draft letter. You might have to check my code sites. I'm not as.
Oh yeah, no, I'll have to, because I was looking at my old code to get the new code, and that's what I was doing a minute ago with just this 391.7.
So I don't understand the window sign issue as well as I understand the flag issue. So
I'll send it to you, but I'm pretty sure that when we had sent the letter about the number of signs, that there is a portion of it that says if it's in the window, it's a window sign, that it has to be 30% the size of the window, not full size or 50. It has to be like less, 30% or less. It cannot be a huge full sign.
And I believe, without looking it up, I believe this is from memory, which is not so good anymore, but I believe it's only 1 sign in the window that you're allowed.
That could be true as well.
And 1 outside sign, and there's numbers attached to it.
I do know for a business, it is 2 signs, period. So I think you can have one window.
We went through that with the storage place. The guy had a huge sign on the side of his wall.
Yeah.
And we made him reduce the sign. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And he had 1 outside sign.
Yeah.
But none of them were around when that happened, and it just,
people don't tend to really read the code. So.
And just the flag is also.
It's a different property.
But it's also the same signage.
It's a sign's a sign.
These are Mabbittsville signs.
And a sign's a sign.
And is it also a business property?
Yeah.
It is but you're not, those particular signs are not allowed, period. It's not based on 1 or 2 that for your business. That one is a waving, distracting flag, which is not allowed.
The open signs are customary open flags, and these are a lot more
Yeah. And every single business that has attempted to put one of these flags up has had to bring them down because,
Our
it's
code
not,
doesn't allow.
our code doesn't allow it. And until we change our code, we have to abide by our code. So
Yeah, I'll write
thank you.
the,
I'll get you the stuff,
yeah.
what I was referring to. And then the only other thing that I'm aware of, I think, on our piles is the follow up with the E code. And since we have a new attorney,
So we do, okay. Who is the new attorney?
I'll have to get it to you. I can't think, is it Kevin Keith?
Oh, so we do have a new, but that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, he's
So-
in the firm, so
So
Yeah,
I
but
will,
that woman who was sitting at the table,
I'm talking about the town attorney, maybe.
town attorney?
so
Yeah.
so I'll be very happy to forward and
Yeah.
reach.
So let me-
If you get the right name,
Yeah,
I will follow
I'll get
up.
that. I'll get that to you. I think the
Town has a new attorney as well, because the attorney for the zoning board and the ZBA is gone. He's the one that wrote all the code up, but would never tell us what the changes were made.
correct. So he's gone. He's got a new position in another firm. So
Yeah.
that firm is still, handling the towns. And they did tell me his name.
Well, I
just
think in
can't
the last email you sent, it had a new name that I didn't recognize.
Yeah, I think it's him probably.
And there was a woman, not a man, a woman sitting in that seat where he used to sit.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that they,
Which
Sent
for
somebody
me
else from
was
the
was a
firm.
new face.
all right. Any other new business for anyone to think of? No? Comments, questions? All right, Motion to
adjourn.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next meeting, July something?
July 2nd, right?
Yeah, that's it, second.